your birthday. This lovely lady is not only punctilious, but punctual, but punctual, but punctual, but punctual.
Breakfast with Elli.
Mode ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam shechazarta bi nishmati bechemla rabba emunatecha.
Pretty controversial issue I've noticed when talking about Judaism or just Judaism on campus is this idea that Jews think that we're superior. And how should we think about that? Does being Jewish and being the chosen people make us superior in any way?
The chosen people is a real thing. Like, we do believe that Jews are a chosen people. The question is, what does that mean? People sitting in their basements on the computer saying, "Ooh, Jews are chosen people. They're, negative and evil, and we have to blah blah blah." But one of the places that it comes from, or one of the questions or issues or misunderstandings that's a very big factor in a large amount of the anti-Semitism that's around, is this question: "Oh, you Jews think you're better than everyone else, chosen people?" Because chosen people is a thing.
Good morning and welcome to Breakfast with Elli. And yes, we are the chosen people. We were chosen to be given the Torah. It is Thursday, the 23rd day of June, the 24th day of Sivan. The Torah portion is Shlach. HaYom, Yom Chamishi, Shabbos, the fifth day. Counting up towards Shabbos, be learning the fifth Aliyah and completing the Rabbi Sachs today. That's right. We have work to do. Yep, it's true. All right. Get this in order over here. All right. Good morning. How are you? What is new? Oh my goodness, we have so much more for you today. I didn't show you this the other day. The happy solstice. Yes, we had the summer solstice just the other day. Yep. And so I just wanted to say happy solstice to you. How are you today? What's happening? What's new? Are you ready to do some mitzvahs? Let's start with that. All right, and now get your two front tzitzis together. Al mitzvah tzitzis.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mitzvat tzitzit.
All right, yes, Binyamin Levi says it is afternoon there. Yeah, I guess it is. I guess you're in the Holy Land, right, Binyamin? I don't know for sure. All right. Okay, he's going to tell me now. Hold on 1 second. London. Oh, London. Oh, London's lovely. We have friends in London. All right. Al divrei Torah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al divrei Torah.
All right. Hareini mekabel.
הריני מקבל עלי מצוות עשה של ואהבת לרעך כמוך. I take upon myself every single day to love my fellow friend in a very special way.
All right, here we go. Torah Tziva Lanu.
Ay Torah tziva lanu Moshe Morasha Morasha Keilat Yaakov. Torah tziva lanu Moshe Morasha Morasha Keilat Yaakov.
All right, fantastic. And now let's give tzedakah.
I put it in the pushki, the
You
tzedakah
give
box.
tzedakah even in the
Put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki for someone else to keep. Yeah, I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki for someone else in need.
All right, ready. Okay, we're getting ready over here for tomorrow. We got a big day tomorrow too, so we're getting ready for that as well. Okay, and now we have given tzedakah, so it's time to say the Shema. Are you ready? Let's go.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
All right, fantastic. And now we can have our breakfast. In the case of people who are not in America, yes. People who are not in America, it is breakfast time, and now those people can have lunch. I don't know what I said. All right, are you ready? Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol nihiyah b'dvaroi. All right. But what do you mean by you're learning about the transmission of the Torah? What does that mean? All right. Here we go. Today in Jewish history. All right. Today in Jewish history. Oh my goodness. Hold on one second. I don't know what happened to my gizmo over here. Sorry about that. All right. Today in Jewish history, there are times to bend like a reed in the wind, and there are times to act as stubborn as a wall against the tide. There are things that lie at the periphery of life. Then every I hold like this, and my opinion is, stands in the way of harmony and peace. Every such I is the very root and source of evil. But when it comes to matters that touch the purpose for which you were placed in this world, that's when you have to be that immovable wall. That's when you have to say, oh, on this, I'm not going to budge. That's from what the Lubavitcher Rebbe said that in a sicha, in a talk from Lubavitcher Rebbe. Yeah. All right, let me see. I have something else for you. Today is Chaf Daled Sivan. The Rebbe says, you ask how you can be bound to me when I do not know you personally. And the Rebbe answers, the true bond is created by studying Torah. When you study Torah, read the talks and associate with those dear to me, the Hasidic community, the students of the yeshiva in their studies and farbrengens, and that's how you can help. You can fulfill my request regarding the saying of Tehillim and studying Torah, and that is the way to be bound to the Rebbe. All right, let's see. What are we doing over here? What Jewish Rambam. This. Oh, Mishnah Torah. Yes. Well, we'll learn that here. We learn Mishnah Torah here. We learn the Sefer HaMitzvahs. All right. I got more for you. Hold on 1 second. We are getting to Gimel Tammuz. This Shabbos is Shabbos Mevorchem. So Gimel Tammuz is coming up, and that is a time to connect yourself to the Lubavitcher Rebbe coming up on his yahrzeit. In preparation, make writing to the Rebbe meaningful and relatable to your children. All right? Make sure that you connect you and your children to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And the way you can do that is by going to this website over here. I'm gonna paste that on the various sites. All right, it's not letting me do that for some reason. Hold on, let me see. Maybe just the three. This part it'll let me paste. There we go. Yes, good morning. All right, and there it should let me paste it here too. This new thing with the allowing the paste, it's weird. Okay, and where else can I put it? All right, yeah, all right, that's good. Good morning, Emmanuel. Good morning, Bashir. Thank you all for being here. What a pleasure to have you all here. Okay, we lost a dear friend recently, Shimi Weiss. He was, for many, many years, the proprietor of Shimi's Pizza on Miami Beach, part of the Weiss family, one of 15 children of our dear, dear, dear friends, Rabbi and Mrs. Mishalom Weiss. And Shimi just recently passed. And well, here's a tribute to Shimi.
Shalom Aleichem, dear friends. When I think of Shimi Weiss, I can't help but smile, because this was a man full of life, full of simchas hachayim, always with a smile, always upbeat, energetic. And a short while ago, Shimi Weiss was taken from us, leaving behind a family who now need to deal with this terrible turn of events and also financial difficulties. So we're reaching out to Mika Amcha Yisrael to respond generously and give generously to help the Weiss family cope with this situation. And this will be part of the nechama, that they'll have no financial daigas and they can deal with this terrible development that has befallen them. And let's be there for them. Please give generously, and may HaShem bless you all with kol tuv selo, and may you only know of simchas and nachas and besudes toivos. Thank you.
All right, Shimshon Weiss over here, Shimi Weiss. The campaigns at causematch.com, campaigns.causematch.com, Shimi Weiss 40721. So if you can contribute to helping a family, every little bit helps. If you can give $18, if you can give $1, it doesn't matter. Whatever you can to help is more than appreciated. Okay? All right. Let's go to HaYom Yom for today, the 24th day of Sivan.
I was talking recently to a woman, and she was telling me about her aunt. Now, this aunt was a very, very special lady, and many people learned lots of important life lessons from this woman, from this aunt of hers, who sadly passed at a very young age. And the niece who I was talking to, she had an interesting comment. She said, as much as a huge influence as this aunt of mine had on me before she passed, I feel like the real impact only started after she passed on, after she was gone. And this niece has made some real fundamental changes in her life, and her perspective on many important things has changed completely as a result of her aunt's influence. But when? These changes took place for the most part after her aunt's passing. And this is something that we see. We know that the souls of those that have passed can have influence. They can influence us, the living, in a way that is very, very profound. And sometimes the influence of those that have passed is even greater than the way these special people influenced us in their lifetime. You know, many of the lessons that we've studied from the HaYom were related to the central theme that the Rebbe plays in the life of a Jew, the life of a chassid, the life of a Jew. If the entire Jewish people is a single unified body, then the Rebbe is the head of that body. And like the head, the Rebbe is to provide instruction, guidance. You know, if you're lost somewhere, your head helps you sort things out and figure out where you need to go. So the function of the Rebbe is to provide guidance for the body that is the Jewish people. And if you're down, the function of the Rebbe is to provide inspiration. Now, whenever we talk about this, there's the elephant in the room, or an unspoken question, which is, okay, but what if I or other people that I know never had the opportunity to meet with the Rebbe personally, and I've never received any guidance or inspiration from the Rebbe on a personal level. So how do I fit into that whole picture of this model of the Jewish people being a single unified body and the Rebbe being the head of that body? How do I fit into that picture? Today's HaYom is an excerpt of a letter penned by the previous Rebbe to a chassid. Now this chassid was a follower of the previous Rebbe who had never met the previous Rebbe, but they were in touch by mail. And at one point, this chassid writes to the previous Rebbe. He says, you know, we've never met before in person. You probably wouldn't even recognize my face, right? This is before the days of Skype. So this bond, how could there even be this special, unique bond between us if we've never even seen each other before? Here's how the previous Rebbe responds. Says the Rebbe, the true bond between Rebbe and chassid is created through the study of Torah. So when the chassid studies the Torah taught by the Rebbe, and when the chassid takes the teachings, the instructions, the guidance that the Rebbe provides, and incorporates that, makes the Rebbe's teachings a part of his or her life, that is the true bond. That is the true hiskashrus. Now, of course, the ideal, we're waiting for Mashiach to come. And when Mashiach comes, we believe that we will be reunited with our loved ones in the flesh. And that, of course, is the best case scenario. But until that point, this channel, this bond, which is a spiritual bond, by virtue of the fact that we take the Rebbe's teachings and really incorporate that, live by these teachings, live by these life lessons. When we make those lessons and those teachings a part of our life, that bond that we have with the Rebbe is very much intact and very real.
Okay. Well, there you have it. All right. I mean, super, super, super important to bond with the Rebbe, especially now. Next Shabbos is Gimel Tammuz, so this is the time to really create that bond. All right? Okay. We've got a little Surly Broncher for you today.
כמה זמן ייקח לכם לקלוט איזה שיר אני מנגן?
Go, go, go. Go, go, go.
Wow. This one we can definitely get rid of. Peanut butter recall. Yeah, we can put this over here. Okay. Oh, and we have gone down to medium, so let's replace that with medium. Yeah, you like that? I do. All right. The official start of summer this week has been marked by triple-digit temperatures across much of the southern United States. On Wednesday, more than 20 million Americans across 16 states were under heat alerts, and some other cities shattered decades-old records. Macon, Georgia, reached 105 degrees, beating the previous record of 101 set in 1925. New heat records were also set in Alabama, Tennessee, and North Carolina. And unfortunately, meteorologists say there's no relief in sight. The heat in the South and the Plains is expected to continue to build throughout the weekend, with much of the region expected to set more records in the coming days, the National Weather Service said. On the other hand, severe storms are expected to dump several inches of rain in some parts of the Southwest today. Here in New York City, it is 69 degrees, beautiful clear skies. It rained yesterday most of the day, and it was cold. I mean, seriously cold yesterday. You never know, all right? A new study suggests that the variants of the coronavirus, BA4 and BA5, appear to escape antibody response from vaccination and prior infection. The levels of antibodies that a previous infection or vaccination would provide are several times lower against these two new subvariants compared with the original coronavirus, according to new data published Wednesday in the New England Journal of Medicine. That makes it official. However, COVID-19 vaccinations are still expected to provide substantial protection against severe disease, and vaccine makers are working on updated shots that might elicit a stronger immune response against the variants. BA4 and BA5 are now the fastest spreading variants reported to date and caused an estimated 35% of new COVID infections in the United States last week, according to recent data. Will it ever end? I don't know. It was finally our turn. I'm just saying hi to the new people here. Good morning, Michael. How are you? It was finally our turn. Parents trickled in and out of a Times Square clinic on Wednesday morning as they rushed to get their infants and toddlers COVID-19 vaccines on opening day of the New York Health Department rollout. But early supplies appear relatively low for young children. When New York State launched the initial rollout for adults in 2020, it had 170,000 doses on hand. According to officials, around 60,000 pediatric doses had been ordered statewide for kids under 5 during the opening stanza. Now, no lines were visible around a dozen vaccination booths separated by black cloth, but early arrivals, such as Jay Wayne, waited an hour for the first bookings, mainly due to the processing state. Dr. Ashwan Vasan, the New York City Health Commissioner, said at the opening that the city had received about 20,000 pediatric shots as of Wednesday morning. Good afternoon. Yes, everybody. Good afternoon. Excuse me. Wind kicking up my non-allergies. On Friday, New York State Department of Health told Gothamist magazine that vaccine providers outside the city had only placed preliminary orders for 39,300 doses. More than 500,000 kids under the age of 5 live in the city, and about 1.1 million statewide, according to health officials. On Tuesday, President Joe Biden called out Congress for not renewing federal funding for the pandemic, which has a limited supply for the current vaccine rollout. The most important thing on parents' minds was getting the lollipops that they had promised after the vaccine shot. All right, so you know that that's coming. A letter from the Lubavitcher Rebbe about listening to your doctor, which he called God's agent for healing. I was happy to receive your letter about your lifestyle, especially your eating habits. The Holy Torah, the Torah of the living God, instructs us to obey the physician in all matters pertaining to our physical health. The Torah authorizes the physician to heal, which renders the physician HaShem's agent for healing. We may obviously share our thoughts and opinions with our physician, including the argument that you shared with me. However, once the physician listens to our theories and issues instructions, we must comply with them, whether they're in concert with our opinions or not. Get that? As mentioned, physicians are agents who act with the authority and power endowed by them to them by the Torah. So if it's from Torah, it's equally good for the body and for the soul. All right. In the next few days, starting on Sunday, we will be talking a lot about the Lubavitcher Rebbe, because we are coming up on his yahrzeit, Yom HaHilula, the yahrzeit of the Rebbe next Shabbos, a week from Shabbos. So, lots to talk about. All right. And now a word from our sponsors. PestProRidal.com.
PestProRidal.com. Trusted by the best to keep away the pests. We are offering COVID-19 disinfection services. Mention this ad and get 1 month free service. Visit us at PestProRidal.com.
Tarzane Group, micro, miniature, and small orchids. Go to tarzanegroup.com or call Tomas at 305-440-0565. That's 305-440-0565. And order today. Visit Tomas and Yair at tarzanegroup.com. Micro, miniature, and small orchids. Beautiful in your home. Go to the website and read Tomas's orchid blog. And by Dina D Design. DinaDDesign@gmail.com. Fine artwork, custom made to your specifications, logos, wall hangings, Judaica, and you can even have something for your child's room. Dina D Designs. Go to her Facebook or Instagram or call or text. Thank you very much to our sponsors. If you'd like to become a sponsor, please go right up here to where it says patreon.com/theactorsrabbi, and you can contribute even only $1 a month if you'd like, but that'll help us bring this broadcast to you on a daily basis and cover our expenses. Be sure to thank your sponsors when shopping and mention Breakfast with Elli when you're shopping there. There might be discounts. Thanks for watching. All right, patreon.com/or breakfast.live/tipjar if you would like to be a contributor to help bring this channel to more and more and more people, which is really, really cool. Okay, we like that. We've got listeners now from all over the world. We have from India, we have from England, we have from Lebanon listening. So I think, we're getting there. All right, we are going to complete Rabbi Sachs's Covenant and Conversation today, assembling reminders, where Rabbi Sachs is talking about the mitzvah of tzitzis, which is in this parsha. Let's continue.
Observed on pro-social behavior above the speed limit. You see a police car in your rearview mirror. You slow down. You know perfectly well that it's wrong to exceed the speed limit whether anyone is watching or not. But being human, the likelihood of being found out and penalized makes a difference. Recently, a series of experiments has been conducted by psychologists to test the impact of a sense of being watched, being observed, on pro-social behavior. Chembo Zhang, Vanessa Bonds, and Francesca Gino constructed a test to see whether a feeling of anonymity made a difference. They randomly assigned to a group of students either sunglasses or clear eyeglasses, telling them that they were testing reactions to a new product line. They were also, in a completely unrelated task, apparently, given $6 and a chance of sharing any of it with a stranger. Those wearing clear glasses gave on average $2.71, while those wearing dark sunglasses gave an average of $1.81. The mere fact of wearing sunglasses and thus feeling unrecognized and unrecognizable reduced generosity. In another experiment, they found that students given the opportunity to cheat in a test were more likely to do so if the room was dimly lit rather than if it were brightly lit. The more we think we may be observed, the more generous and moral we become. Kevin Haley and Dan Fessler tested students on the so-called dictator game, in which you were given, say, $10 together with the opportunity of sharing any or none of it with an anonymous stranger. Beforehand, and without realizing it was part of the experiment, some of the students were briefly shown a pair of eyes as a computer screensaver, while others saw a different image. Those exposed to the eyes gave 55% more to the stranger than did the others. In another study, researchers placed a coffee maker in the university hallway. Passers-by could take coffee and leave money in the box. On some weeks, they'd put a poster with watchful eyes on the wall nearby, and on others, a poster of flowers. On the weeks where the eyes were showing, people left on average 2.76 times as much money as on other times. Ara Norenzayan, author of the book Big Gods, from which these studies are taken, concludes that watched people are nice people. And that's part of what makes religion a force for honest and altruistic behavior, the belief that God sees what we do. It is no accident that as belief in a personal God has waned in the West, we've had to have more and more surveillance by CCTV and other means. Voltaire once said that whatever his personal views on the matter, he wanted his butler and other servants to believe in God because he would then be cheated less. Less obvious is the experimental finding that what makes the difference to the way we behave is not simply what we believe, but simply being reminded of it. In one test conducted by Brandon Randolph Seng and Michael Nielsen, participants were exposed to words flash for less than 100 milliseconds. That is long enough to be detected by the brain, but not long enough for conscious awareness. They were then given a test in which they had the opportunity to cheat. Those who had been shown words relating to God were significantly less likely to do so than people who'd been shown neutral words. And the same result was yielded by another test, in which beforehand some of the participants were asked to recall the 10 Commandments, while others of the participants were asked to remember the last 10 books they'd read. Merely being reminded of the 10 Commandments reduced the tendency to cheat. Another researcher, Deepak Malhotra, surveyed the willingness of Christians to give to online charitable appeals. The response was 300% greater if the appeal was made on a Sunday than on any other day of the week. Clearly, the participants didn't change their mind about religious belief or the importance of charitable giving between weekdays and Sundays. It wasn't on Sundays they believed in God and the rest of the week they didn't. It was simply that on Sundays they were more likely to have thought about God that day, been reminded about God on that day. A similar test was carried out among Muslims in Morocco, where it was found that people were more likely to give generously to charity if they lived in a place where they could hear the call to prayer from a local minaret. So Nazarian's conclusion is that religion is more in the situation than in the person. Or to put it another way, what makes the difference to our behavior is less what we believe than the phenomenon of being reminded, even subconsciously, of what we believe. And that is the psychology behind the mitzvah of tzitzit in this week's parasha. This shall be your tzitzit, uritemota, and you shall see it, uzachartem, and you shall remember all the Lord's commands and keep them, not straying after your heart and after your eyes, following your own sinful desires. Thus you will be reminded to keep all my commandments and be holy to your God. The Gemara tells the story of a man who, in a moment of moral weakness, decided to pay a visit to a certain courtesan. He was in the course of removing his clothes when he saw the tzitzit and immediately froze. The courtesan asked him what was the matter, and he told her about the tzitzit, saying that the 4 fringes had become accusing witnesses against him for the sin he was about to commit. The Gemara says that she was so impressed by the power of this simple command that she later converted to Judaism. We sometimes fail to understand the connection between religion and morality. Dostoevsky is said to have said that if God didn't exist, all would be permitted. Now this is not the mainstream Jewish view. According to Rav Nissim Gaon, the moral imperatives accessible to reason have been binding ever since the dawn of humanity, ever since man and woman first stepped foot on earth. We have a moral sense. We know that certain things are wrong, but we also have conflicting desires. We're drawn to do what we know we shouldn't do, and often we yield to temptation. Anyone who has ever tried to lose weight knows exactly what that means. In the moral domain, it's what the Torah means when it says straying after your heart and after your eyes, following your own sinful desires. So we know what's right and wrong, but actually keeping to it is another matter. The moral sense, wrote James Q. Wilson, is not a strong beacon light radiating outward to illumine in sharp outline all that it touches. It is, rather, a small candle flame, casting vague and multiple shadows, flickering and sputtering in the strong winds of power and passion, need and ideology. But he adds, but brought close to the heart, it dispels the darkness and warms the soul. Wittgenstein once said that the work of the philosopher consists in assembling reminders. In the case of Judaism, that is precisely the purpose of the outward signs, tzitzit, mezuzah, and tefillin. These are reminders on our clothes, our homes, our arms, and our head that certain things are wrong, and that even if no one else sees us, God sees us and will call us to account. And we now have all the empirical evidence that reminders make a significant difference to the way we act. Jeremiah said, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who shall know it? One of the blessings and curses of human nature is that we use our power of reason not always and only to act rationally, but also to rationalize and make excuses for the things we do, even when we know we shouldn't have done them. That perhaps is one of the lessons the Torah wishes us to draw from the story of the spies. Had they just remembered what God had done to Egypt, the mightiest empire of the ancient world, they would not have said, we cannot attack those people, they are stronger than we are. But they were in the grip of fear. Strong emotion. Fear especially distorts our perception. It activates the amygdala, the source of our most primal reactions, causing it to override the prefrontal cortex that allows us to think rationally about the consequences of our decisions. So tzitzit, with their thread of blue, remind us of heaven. And that is what we most need, reminders of heaven, if we are consistently to act in accordance.
Beautiful words, beautifully said. Rabbi Sachs, you are truly, truly missed. All right, in the fifth Aliyah, the section continues with the rules of the aforementioned sacrifice. Jews are told upon entering Israel, an individual who pledges to bring a sacrifice must also bring an accompaniment consisting of a wine libation, flour offering mixed with olive oil. And the section in the fifth Aliyah continues with the rules of that sacrifice, detailing the quantities of wine, flour, and oil to be brought with various species of livestock. Welcome to all our new listeners on Clubhouse. We have a whole bunch of new people there. So please enjoy the broadcast. All right, Shnayim Yomi for today. Here we go. All right, we're getting there. Hard drive is slow today for some reason.
Shlach, Aliyah Chamishi. The parasha continues talking about different korbanot that a person could bring for Borei Olam. Talks about the Olah, right? Or a person again wants to fulfill a vow, or a korban shilamim, which is a peace offering with Borei Olam. He says when a person does that, again he has to bring a mincha, which is a fine wheat flour offering to Borei Olam, and he has to bring wine. That's what the parasha writes here. Kacha ya'aseh la'shoreh echad, or la'ayla echad, or la'aseh b'kevasim, or ba'ezim. For every korban that a person wants to bring, he has to bring a libation and a fine wheat flour korban. It says all of the residents have to do that. Everybody, if there's a ger, has to do it. If there are goyim that follow the dictates of the Torah, they're one of the 7 Noachai laws, they have to do it as well. Parasha writes, there's one law for all of you. Everybody, all the inhabitants of the land, all have Torah achat u'mishpat echad. There's one law, there's one judgment, there's one ordinance for everybody. One ordinance, one law for you and for those that live amongst you. Insight on the Aliyah. The parasha teaches that for every korban that a person brings, he has to bring a libation of wine. And one must wonder why. Why can the person bring 4 korbanot, 1 libation? Why with every korban does the person have to bring a pouring of wine in the mizbeach? And it's very possible that when I bring wine, wine is a sign of celebration. It's a celebratory beverage. And therefore, sometimes a person gives a nedava, he gives a donation, and he's saddened. He's upset. He feels like he was, cheated. He feels like he's losing his money. Borei Olam doesn't want that. Borei Olam wants us to feel with every korban that a person brings, he's celebrating. And therefore, you bring a gift to God. You're coming and bring something to Borei Olam to thank HaShem. Make sure you bring it with a celebratory beverage to show Borei Olam, look, I'm not upset. I'm not sad. I'm so happy. I'm here celebrating with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rabbi Eliezer Zaytuni, have a wonderful day.
All right. He's pretty good, Rabbi Tony. All right. I'm very happy.
Boker Tov, good morning. We continue with the 3 minute daily dose of Torah. Looking now at what the...
Sorry about that. Let's fix this. All right. Let's go to Rabbi Chaim Martyr. Are you ready?
Boker Tov, good morning. We continue with the 3 minute daily dose of Torah. Looking now at what the spies go on to say after Kalev says, I actually didn't quote Kalev. Alona lev yarashnu ota ki yacholnu chala. We can do it, everybody. We will go up and we will inherit this land. We can do it. So the people then said in response to him, no, we can't. Ki chazakhu mimenu. It is too powerful for us. Now, diba is slander. So you know this is now they're making stuff up. Maybe. El b'nei Yisrael more, saying to the Israelites, it is a land which consumes its inhabitants, and everyone there are people of enormous size. So that is, on the one hand, dibat haaretz. It is slander and false. There is, at the same time, a very powerful Gemara, which Rashi quotes, Ochelt Yoshveha, B'chol makom she'avarnu mitzanum kovrei metim. It's a land which consumes its inhabitants, because everywhere we went, there were levayas. There were funerals going on everywhere. So we have to presume, and you can pick it up, right? I mentioned the Chernobyl, kind of image. We have these outsized, crazy-sized fruits that we're bringing back to you. And you'll say, isn't this wonderful? It's not wonderful. Something terrible is going on. This environment is toxic. So things grow in bizarre sizes, humans too, and everyone's dying. That was not false. They did see many funerals, more than you would imagine proportionally. But says the Gemara, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Asal Tova. That was actually God who made that happen. He made wherever they went, there should be levayas, there should be funerals, because you have a dozen strange people, Hebrews, who are walking through your land, scouting out the place for an intended entry and attack, right? Or at least preparing for battles. So if the people pay attention to you, you're toast. So God made it such that people were so consumed with burying their dead. He caused some more funerals to happen. The Tardam ba'evlam b'lo'yitnu lev la'elu, so that they should be caught up with that and not pay attention to the Israelites. That was these 12 spies. That was a gift of God that they should be caught up in those funerals so they could do their work quietly. And the unfortunate reality of these 10 men of the spies, they could only somehow see this as part of the evil of the land of Israel instead of the kindness of God to help them succeed in their mission, which of course they complete, but sadly undermine. That's our analysis, very briefly, of some of the elements of the story of the spies. I invite you to look further at the text and see what you come up with along the way. Wishing you all a great day.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you, Rabbi Martyr. Moving on, we have Rabbi Minkowitz today.
Welcome to this week's Torah lesson. This week's Torah portion is Parsha Shlach. The question of the week is, what was the sin of the spies? So in this week's Torah portion, we learn about Moshe Rabbeinu sending the spies to scout out the land of Israel. And they came back with a terrible report, and because of that, they were punished. So the question is asked, what did they do wrong? They were sent to scout out the land, and they came back and gave the report. They shouldn't have came back and gave a report. They should give a false report. I mean, came back and they gave an honest report. What was the sin? So Rashi says something very interesting. That if you give a look, this week's Torah portion, Parsha Shlach, is right next to the Torah portion that deals with Miriam, where she spoke bad against Moshe Rabbeinu. So Rashi says, why are two sections connected? Because since Miriam spoke against Moshe Rabbeinu, bad about Moshe Rabbeinu, she was punished. And the spies, they spoke bad about the land of Israel, so they were also punished. But Rebbe says, you give a look, what does Rashi say? Rashi uses an interesting term, iske diba. Iske is almost like a preoccupation. They were busy about this conversation. In other words, what was Miriam's sin? She also spoke about Moshe Rabbeinu, a true story. The problem was Rashi saying is, iske. She got involved, yes, she saw something, and she was talking about it, and she was telling everyone about it. That was the issue. It wasn't what she said. It was the fact that she was promoting this discussion. And what happens when you talk about something, that's when it leads to all these terrible things. Something happens, deal with it, fix it, talk in short, and come up with a remedy. The Meraglim did the same exact thing. They went to scout out the land, and they saw issues. They should have came back and short, give their list of the issues, or told Moshe Rabbeinu privately, but no. They went and they had to tell everybody, and they made a whole this drama. So what Rashi is saying is, what was the issue over here? The issue was iske diba, that they created all this gossip and all this chaos and all the drama for no reason. And because of that, they were punished. So the answer to the question, what was the sin of the spies? Not that they gave back a report. The sin was that they gossiped about it, and they spoke about it, and they instigated about it. They would have came back and said what they said, that's fine. You need to know what's going on. And I think it's a beautiful lesson in life. There are issues you have to deal with, but don't gossip and create all this drama, because only terrible and negative things will come out from it. Thanks so much for joining us for our weekly Torah lesson. This week's Torah lesson is dedicated to the memory of Baruch ben Ari Leib, Shlomo and Yosef, and Rachel Baslipa. May their souls be elevated by Torah we're studying in their memory. Have a great and blessed week. Shavua Tov.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Rabbi Kalman Weinbaum.
A good Erev Shabbos. We hear many times Chassidim are talking about going to the Rebbe, visiting the Rebbe every little while, and how much the Rebbe is the one that is connecting the Chassid to HaShem. So I heard once from a very smart man from Yerushalayim, a Jew from Yerushalayim, and we don't have to say a Yerushalayim smart man, because if he's from Yerushalayim, usually he's smart. Anyway, he said that he's a Lubavitcher Chassid, and many years ago he was planning to travel to the Rebbe to be Yom Tov Shavuos by the Rebbe, and his father, that was also a Chassid, a Polisher Chassid, a very big Talmid Chochem, told him, my son, why do you need to travel outside of Eretz Yisrael to see the Rebbe? You have here Me'oras HaMachpelah, Hebron, you can go and you can daven by Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, many other places in Eretz Yisrael that you can daven. So the son answered the father, and he said, from our Parsha Shlach, I can prove you that I can go to the Rebbe and I don't need to go to Me'oras HaMachpelah. Because when the Meraglim went and they came to the Negev, the Posuk is telling us in our Parsha, Vaya'alu ba'Negev vayovoi at Hebron. They came to the Negev, to the south of Eretz Yisrael, and he went to Hebron. He means Loshin Yochid, only one person. Rashi brings from the Gemara in Soito that we are talking here about Kolev. Kolev went to Hebron to daven b'schus Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov to HaShem, that he should not be together with the Meraglim in the not good Eitzes. The Gemara said that Yeshua had already a broche of Moshe Rabbeinu when he gave him a Yud to his name. Yehoshua, Koh Yoshiacho me'atzas Meraglim. HaShem will give you in Mirz HaShem, you should not be with the Meraglim in the not good Eitzeh. So he had already a broche, so he didn't join Kolev to the trip to Hebron, Me'oras HaMachpelah. So the son asked the father, what would be a problem if Yeshua will join Kolev? Yes, he had already a broche from Moshe Rabbeinu, but an opportunity to go to Me'oras HaMachpelah. Why don't you join your friend Kolev? From here you see that when you have a Rebbe, you have a broche from your Rebbe, you don't need anything else. This is the way how you are being connected to HaShem. And this is the way how you run your life and you have in Mirz HaShem a good life. So we Hasidim, we need to remember that we have a Rebbe, and the Rebbe is directing us in our life. The Rebbe is a flashlight in our life. We just need to join the Rebbe's Inyonim, the Rebbe's Adroches. So let's be part of the Rebbe's Inyonim we should volunteer at least once a week, Mivtzoim, if you can do, someone can do Mivtza Kashrus, Mivtza Shabbos, Nero Shabbos Kodesh, or Mivtza Tefillin, of course. Everyone can make a calculation what's the easiest and the best way for him to do something what the Rebbe wants him to do. And then we're going to have a very, very good life in Mirza Hashem. Shabbat Shalom u'mevorach.
Wow. Wow. Amazing stuff. All right. We have time for Harry today. Harry's blog.
I heard a lesson I'm about to share with you about 30 years ago, and it stopped me in my tracks, caused me to immediately change my perspective and my habits on a certain issue. The spies are sent to go check out the Promised Land, and they return. 10 of them bring back a bad report, and their fellow Jews believe that report. And as a result, they get punished. They have to wander in the wilderness for another 40 years instead of going directly into Israel. If you look carefully, you'll see that the spies did not come back empty-handed from their mission. They brought back souvenirs, some giant grapes, and a big fig, and a pomegranate. But those are only 3 of the 7 species for which Israel is known. They did not bring back wheat. They didn't bring back barley. They didn't bring back olives, for example. Why? Because figs and pomegranates and grapes are dessert foods. Whereas if you have wheat and you have barley and you take olives and you press them into oil, now you can cook a meal. You've got a main course. So they were intentionally trying to suggest to their fellow Jews, Israel, great desserts, great place to visit, but no main course. You could never live there. And so the episode of the spies wasn't just a historical one-off from thousands of years ago. It's a lesson for us today. And it's a particularly important one today, with many people planning to head to Israel now that the pandemic hopefully is over or waning and there are no more masks needed on planes. If you go to visit and you come back, even though you had a wonderful trip, but you have some complaints, and you complain about anything, the weather or the traffic or the people or the bureaucracy, any possible complaint, you may unwittingly, unintentionally repeat the sin of the spies by convincing someone who was thinking about Aliyah, you know what, it is too difficult and I don't want to have to deal with that issue or that problem. So we have to be very, very careful. Ever since I heard that explanation, I have tried to be, not perfect, but I've tried to be very careful not to say anything negative about the land of Israel. But it's not enough to just zip our lips and not say anything negative. We have to be active. The Talmud tells us about Rabbi Abba, who would kiss the stones of Israel to show his love for the land. And about Rabbi Hanina, who would remove or fix obstacles on the roadways. He didn't want the roadways to get a bad reputation. And about Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi, when they would study together outdoors. If it was summertime and it was hot, they would go into the shade. And if it was winter and it was chilly, cold, they'd go into the sun. Because they wanted to make sure that no one would have any complaints. Even they themselves wouldn't have any complaints about the weather. We have to be vigorous defenders of the land, showing our love, never saying anything negative, always saying things that are positive, making sure that people know, Israel, it is a great place to visit, but it's also a great place to live.
All right. Fantastic. And that's all we have time for there today. But Pirkei Avos chapter 3 this week. Pirkei Avos chapter 3. And now we move on to Tzedek Kiddush. All right, we're doing chapter 121 today. Let's do it together. Let's sing it, okay? All right, Tanya in 5. There it is. You've been waiting for this. Tanya in 5 with Rabbi Roni Fine. Here we go.
Thank you for joining Tanya in 5. Today's lesson for the 24th of Sivan. We continue in chapter 7. Chapter 7, Shayich Ve'emunah, is Yichuda, about God's unity. We're speaking about Tzimtzum Kipshutai. How do we understand the concept of contraction, of God contracting upon His infinite being in order to form and create a finite world? And the Alter Rebbe says it doesn't mean literally that God contracted Himself out. In other words, God is here and yet contracted. Usually contracted would mean you would, remove yourself from here. But no, God is here, but He is in a way that we cannot grasp Him. Usually anything that is imminent, is there, means in a way that we can grasp the thing. But God is beyond that. So the Alter Rebbe explains and gives a further understanding of this idea, how God, the essence of God, is found within creation, and yet not grasped, not limited by it, not affected by it. So this is the concept that He encompasses all the worlds, makif, which is the word for encompassing in Hebrew. And it gives an example. For example, or by way of example, an individual who reflects upon an intellectual subject in their mind, or a physical matter in one's thoughts. My glasses, right? I have the image of that in my mind. What do we call that? It's encompassed in my mind. Whether it's the thought of an idea or the glasses is encompassed in my mind. However, the actual glasses are not encompassed in my mind. It's only the image of the glasses. God, however, it is written about Him, His thoughts are not like our thoughts. In other words, our thoughts, we can only have the image of the thing in our minds. But God's thoughts and His knowledge are not like created beings, and hence He actually encompasses every single creature in His mind, in His thoughts, in His knowledge. And indeed, it is that knowledge that He has of the particular thing that gives life force to all of existence, bringing it out of nothingness into actual reality. So again, the metaphor over here is, close your mind and you have a thought in your mind. The whole reality of that thought in your mind is you thinking it. The moment you cease thinking it, of course, it's no longer there. So the whole reality is it's encompassed in your mind. You are giving it its entire reality of the image in your mind. But by God, it's not just the image, it's the actual physical, and for that matter, all spiritual beings, all created beings are encompassed in His mind and giving it existence. So in that sense, He is here, giving reality, but yet beyond and not graspable by the reality that He is creating, the worlds that He is creating. At the same time, there's another force of God, another creative force of God that is filling the world, which we call memale kol almin. He fills it, and He's the life force which now clothes itself, as opposed to encompassing. This life force clothes itself in created beings. And why does it do it? Because now it needs to enclothe itself to make this created being different than another created being that the eye can see and the ear can hear, for example. That there should be distinction between created things. And this is only occurring because of a powerful contraction, in order that it could now, the light of God could fit in, be enclosed, in other words, to this particular created being that is finite and limited, both in quantity and in quality. So for example, the Alter Rebbe says the sun is a body, the sun globe, that is finite and it's limited. It's got a certain size to it, a certain size to it. Yes, it's much greater than the world. 167 times the size of the globe of the earth, but yet it has its limitation. Likewise, its quality, which is the light that it has, is also a limited, because the light that it extends will be only is not indefinite. So there's a limitation to the light that comes from the sun. So likewise, all created beings are finite and limited. And therefore, in order that they should become finite, limited beings, it's not by the encompassing makif light of God that brings it into, from non-being into being, but it has to undergo numerous and powerful contractions in order that the life force, which is vested within the created being, is so greatly contracted until it's able to bring into existence the created being in a finite and limited manner. So that where we have the makif, the all-encompassing, and also the contracted light that is now fills in the particular created being, and to give it its unique and distinctive form of creation. And that is Tanya in 5. Thank you for joining.
All right. If you'd like your own copy of Rabbi Chaim Miller's essay on the Tanya, please just contact me and I will put in a request for that. They are helping people learn Tanya. There's a bit.ly address over here if you'd like to get that. Yeah. All right. Let me see if I can copy that. If I can paste that in, I will. All right. And now we move on to the Rambam, Sefer HaMitzvahs, and we are doing class number 36.
Today we continue our review of the text for the prayers for the entire year. The Rambam begins by giving us the weekday Amidas text, along with all the variations that could exist therein for Rosh Chodesh, Chanukah, Purim, and fast days. He then gives us the chapters that we say after the Amidah on a regular day, along with all possible versions of the Kaddish that exist. We then get an exhaustive list of every other possible Amidah that we say throughout the year. Shabbos evening, morning, Musaf and Mincha services, Yom Tov, all the holiday Amidas, along with all the variations for when they fall out on Shabbos, as well as for the Amidas for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. We conclude with getting the text for the Vidui, for the confession prayer that we say every single day after the Amidah.
All right, fantastic. Okay, let's see. That brings us to matters of Mashiach. In that time, Mishnah Torah tells us, the world will be filled with the knowledge of HaShem. Today, we relate to HaShem primarily through faith. When Mashiach comes, we'll understand what we now know only through faith. Even now, the Shema Yisrael commands us to study Hashem's unity to bring our faith into understanding. Through understanding this aspect of Torah, we prepare for the knowledge of Hashem in the time of Mashiach. Very cool stuff. All right, and now our PSAs.
Please sponsor Food to Feed the Needy at Maspia Soup Kitchen Network. Hi, I'm Rory Weisberg, founder of Full and Free, and I'm here today to make charity giving more delicious. Thousands of families in need get food from Maspia every week, and hundreds get food every day. Healthy food and sharing food is what Maspia and I have in common. That's what my cookbook and my line of products is all about. At Maspia, $10 will sponsor a hot dinner for one person. If you sponsor a donation of $180, Maspia will give you a free copy of my new cookbook. Maspia needs your help and every little bit counts. Please go to maspia.com/Rory to make your donation and win your free copy of my book and possibly my products as well. Have a great day.
Still fairly new. Yeah. All right, this one is different enough. That's quick. Give me some back.
Must be a soup kitchen and food pantry available in Clapton, Park, and Queens. Text the word food to 879. In Rockland County, it is tomcheshabbos.org, tomcheshabbos.org, and in Lakewood, it's tomche.org, bringing you food and other necessities. In Chicago, it's the Chicago Center Kitchen at breakfastwithelli.live/Chicago Food Bank. If you know of other food banks around the world, let me know, and I'm happy to include them here. Achiezer.org for all your other needs. Achiezer.org is there to help you out at achiezer.org or at 516-791-4444. And Hatzalah, available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. All right. Ryan, thank you. Ryan Chaim said, we know the Rebbe is Mashiach and he will come now. That's the matter of Mashiach. Amen. Let's hope that's the case and we don't have to wait. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. Hatzalah.org, available worldwide. And if you don't have Hatzalah in your neck of the woods, contact me and I will help you get it there. Ryan, where are you calling from? Where are you listening from, calling from? Don't mind me. All right. Very good. Hate crime. If you are not the victim of, or you see a hate crime in progress, call 911 immediately, even on Shabbos and even on Yom Tov. And for all your other needs in cases of bereavement, misaskim.org is there. Misaskim, 718-854-4548, or misaskim.org. The people at Just One Shabbos are doing Peter V'chotim, bringing Jews back to the keeping of Shabbos. So help them out if you can, justoneshabbos.com. And please, we're hearing all kinds of weird things, new variants. So, wear a mask. It's going to help you. It's going to help me. It's going to help everybody. And please get your vaccinations. If you're not up to date in your vaccination, if you haven't gotten your fourth booster, the booster shot, you need to do that right away. All right? Arrange for that today. All right? And then you'll be up to date. All right, think Chabad. Ready? The Rebbe writes in the HaYom Yom, you ask how you can be bound to me, makusher to me, when you don't know me personally. All right. Connecticut. Oh, great. Oh, Chaim is a chazan and loves musical theater. Chaim, you have to contact me and we'll talk. All right? All right. The true bond created by studying Torah, when you study the Maimorim, the talks, and the sichas associate with those who are dear to me, the Hasidic community and the Tamimim, the yeshiva students, in their studies and participate in their Verbrengens, and you fulfill my request about saying Tehillim every day and observing times for Torah study, it is those actions that the bonding with the Rebbe can take place. Learn the Rebbe's Torah. That's basically it. Learn the Rebbe's Torah. All right, bringing heaven down to earth. Every business is the business of a tailor to make clothing for the blessings that come your way. You can't alter the size of your blessings by putting them in bigger clothes. On the contrary, they might just be chased away. But you can't make the clothes too short either. Because that's the whole purpose, that miracles and blessings shouldn't come into the world stark naked, but be clothed in the natural world with us as the tailors. There you go. Speaking about business. All right, come talk to me on social media at any of the Actors Rabbis groups. Good morning, Avra, all right. Oh, she listens in. Okay, very good. Well, you can always listen to a replay. All right. The Actors Rabbis groups at WhatsApp, Twitter, Spaces, Telegram, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify Live, LinkedIn, Racket, or start a clubhouse room with me. Go to theactorsrabbi.com for more information on these groups and And what was I going to say? At theactorsrabbi.com, you can sign up for life coaching services too. All right? It's all there for you. All right, let's make an afterbreath.
Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam boirei nefashos rabois v'chesreinan al kol ma sheborasa lachayos bohem nefesh kol chai baruch chai ha'olamim.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. We had a wonderful, wonderful audience. So many people listening. Thank you to my Patreon sponsors, Pestro Riddle, Tarzan Orkins, Tina D Design, Dr. Susan Spitzer, Rucka Biederman, and others. If you'd like to become a sponsor, go to patreon.com/theactorsrabbi or our virtual tip jar at breakfastwithelli.live/tip jar. Ellie has 2 L's in it. ELLI, breakfastwithelli.live/tip jar, and contribute today. Our Patreon sponsors are now getting swag. So, there's all kinds of new things happening. All right. What can I tell you? It is Thursday. It's time to start getting ready for Shabbos. Tomorrow, we're going to do all kinds of new preparations. And also, it is Shabbos Mevorchim coming up. We're going to bless the new month. Bashir, my pleasure. We're going to bless the new month of Tammuz, which contains in it Gimel Tammuz, which is the Hilula, the yard site of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. So we've got a lot to learn coming up every day at 10 a.m., 10 to approximately 11:30. I'm rushing a little bit because I have to get to Brooklyn for a doctor's appointment today. But it's all good. It's all good. All right, Joey Newcomb has a new album coming out, and we are going to preview that here today. Enjoy. Go out and do something nice, something good for someone today. In the words of Aizik Homiler, have affection for a fellow. HaShem will have affection for you. Do a kindness for a fellow. HaShem will do a kindness for you. Befriend a fellow. HaShem will befriend you. Joey Newcomb, then the sign-off. Have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. Please try to bring one more person to watch and listen with you. Take care.
Sometimes I look in someone else's life, and I wish I had the things I see. You know what I say? The things you have are meant for you. I don't know why, I don't know where, I don't know how, and I don't know what. The one thing that I know, yes I know, it's all from you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Da 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 da. No yamavir ben kodesh lechol. Moments of truth, feeling of just being close to home. So take me home, yeah, I'm coming home. I've been trying for so long, so Tata, please take me home. Yesh mikveh, yesh tikveh, yesh mikveh, yesh tikveh, yesh mikveh, yesh tikveh. Yesh mikveh, yesh tikveh, yesh mikveh, yesh tikveh, yesh mikveh, yesh tikveh. Oy, mikveh yisru el HaShem. חכני לעשות הכל לשם שמיים.
ריבונו של עולם, אני כל כך רוצה לעשות הכל בשבילך. ריבונו של עולם, אני כל כך רוצה לעשות הכל בשבילך.
שקשוקה in Morocco,
שקשוקה in Morocco,
שקשוקה in Morocco,
שקשוקה in Morocco.
For breakfast every day, for breakfast every day. Yeah, la 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 la.